Hello, Internet. Welcome to another live stream. It's actually like considerably cooler than it was yesterday. I guess the late night downpour cooled everything down. It is not, quote, hot as balls, like I said, either yesterday or a few days ago when I did a running stream. So what's up? Today's stream is called Understanding Your Value. And it's a concept I'm stepping into where basically I'm starting to believe that I offer a lot, both in terms of my career and my personal relationships, my romantic relationships. Or, oh my gosh. Speaking of understanding your value, this dog knows his value. Happy little boy. But yeah. Where to even start? Yesterday I called the pianist, singer, Brian Eng. I've never actually met before. I basically cold called him to ask him how he booked shows, and he gave me some really great advice. And he told me some stuff that I actually have tried before, but when I tried it, I didn't understand my value. And he talked to me about the process to getting gigs is to send a lot of emails and get used to the heartbreak of the crushing sound of the silence of most people not replying. And so they make a spreadsheet with all the details of all the places you emailed. And it is something I did. I learned about that years ago. And I would say I was doing a lot of that 2017, 2018, 2019. But what I didn't have when I was doing it was an understanding of my value. Where, well, I guess first of all, I just thought bands play at bars, so we should book shows at bars. And the thing about playing at bars is actually your value is the number of people you can bring in. And we can't bring in people at a lot of bars around the country, especially. You can bring people to some bars in some cities. But even so, like maybe not 1,000 people, not yet anyways. So when I was booking tours for the band and stuff, it was like we were just losing money, and it just seemed like an impossible problem to solve. Now I'm looking at it a little different. It's like, well, the value of the band, actually, what we do, the show we put together, the experience we create with our show is very valuable. It's easily worth minimum $2,000, the experience it provides. And so I want to shift my focus to finding places that have audiences. What they're looking for is spending their budget on acts and shows that entertain their audience to the highest level. And that just changes the whole ball game, because it's like, as of now, I want to state the value of the show at $2,000 and then be able to factor in all the other costs of travel, lodging, etc., and be able to pay my band like a good amount of money and share my music with new people who, if they get to see the show, I know they'll love it. I know they'll leave transformed. By the way, as an aside, I have heard that being able to run and talk is really good for you. Because if you can talk while you're running, I don't know, I just heard it's good for you. So it's kind of a fun twist on going on a run, is to do the live stream with it too. Force myself to say some words, get my breath together. Singing and running too, that's really good for your support. We bought a race car bed. Yeah, and I guess I'll just talk about with dating too. It's like understanding my value, understanding your value. Like, I think for most of my life, I didn't really think I was bringing that much to the table in dating, in the dating world. And I think I felt like if somebody dated me, it was kind of like an accident, kind of like a fluke, or like I tricked them. And like, oh, that's a beautiful dog. Don't let them know that, like, I don't know. And because of that, I often think I ended up in situations where I was settling for less than I deserved. Certainly the last situation, I wasn't being treated in the way I deserved to be treated. And just recognizing it's like, yeah, I bring a lot to the table. Everybody, all of my friends, if I talk to them about this, they basically say, oh, you're such a catch, Danny. Like any girl would be lucky to have you. And it's high time I start believing that, because any girl would be lucky to have me. Yeah, I'm not going to put myself in a situation where I'm settling for somebody who's not treating me with the love that I need and deserve. Woo. So I'm willing to bet that you are not selling yourself for what you're actually worth and not totally understanding your value. Because I have spent a lot of time not realizing it. And my call with Mike Schertz was really eye-opening because he could see that the show we put on is really valuable. And then he even put it out. He's like, man, you guys have an educational component, a component where you can talk about mental health. It's like all these things you can add on to it can add a lot of value. And we can do a lot of that stuff. Do that stuff definitely with the best of them. And yeah, I'm just declaring, putting it out there to the world that I want to impact people with my original music. I want to share my original music in a way that's sustainable for me, where the more I do it, the more opportunities I get to do it. The more people I help, the more opportunities I get to help more people. And yeah, I want to make that happen. Instead of where it feels like I'm spinning my wheels now, where I play gigs that are nice, they don't really go anywhere. Oh man, I'll share this too, because this was cool. I listened to this Steve Chandler, I think is his name, podcast on optimism. And he was talking about, studies done on optimistic people versus pessimistic people, and just how different the world is for optimistic people. And optimistic people do better in their jobs, at school, their marriages, their relationships with their kids, all sorts of stuff. And when I was listening to it, what really struck me was that I consider myself an optimistic person, but I kind of was able to look in the mirror and be like, well, am I always optimistic? Or do I go into situations sometimes expecting it to suck? Or do I go into conversations with people expecting it to go nowhere? Like, do I really enter every conversation I have with people with the being open to possibility, being open to the idea that I have something life-changing for them and they have something life-changing for me? And I'm honest, I actually don't think I do that. I think I kind of have been like a lazy optimist. But one thing he talked about was like people think of optimism and pessimism as immutable personality traits. Like that's just the way I am. And I see that. I certainly thought that, and I also kind of thought like, yeah, it's immutable and I'm optimistic. So there we go. But I realized like he was basically saying all it is optimism versus pessimism is, are you feeding into your train of thoughts with openness and positivity and possibility, or are you feeding into your train of thoughts of negativity and frustration and defeat and despair? And the main difference between an optimist and a pessimist is it's not that an optimist never has feelings of stuckness or frustration, but they have practiced recognizing that those not feeding thoughts that don't serve them, because your feelings just come from your thoughts and you can control your thoughts. And yeah, it was just a really eye-opening podcast. If you're interested in hearing it, I can send it to you. Definitely opened me up to realizing I kind of had this lazy optimist idea where I thought, yeah, I'm optimistic. And I think sometimes in some regards, I've practiced optimism, and I definitely am generally cheerful, have a cheery disposition. But I've seen where I have not been optimistic. And actually, like last night, I played a gig, and there were people I never met on the gig before, and I realized it could be easy to think like, oh, it's just another working musician, like whatever, like it doesn't matter. But I made a point after the gig to talk with the saxophone player, and we chatted for a while, had a nice conversation, and he told me about a nonprofit he's starting up about connecting artists and creatives with spaces for them to play and audiences. And I was like, wow, well, let's make sure we get connected. And I just saw a very real example of approaching him with possibility, and possibility showed itself. So that's really beautiful. So I think my takeaway from that podcast, my big takeaway is that optimism is a muscle you can work out. It's a practice. It's a skill you can practice. And I've practiced it in some regards, but in other regards, I haven't. And just a reminder that every moment, the one thing you have in control of is your thoughts. And you can stop the pessimistic, negative thoughts of, for me, it's like, I'll never find love, or I'll never make money on original music. And those thoughts are the start of a train of thoughts that don't serve me. And I can let that train run, or I can stop it. And I can say, okay, I honor that I'm feeling that way. I'm not going to dismiss my feelings, but is that true? And is that helpful? Is it really absolutely 100% true that I'll never find love? That is it absolutely true that the last romantic situation I was in was the best I'll ever get and it's all downhill from here? I don't think so. I don't think that's actually true. And I don't think it serves me to believe that. So I'm choosing something else. All right, guys. Well, February 22nd is our show at Epiphany. Really would love to see you there. Have a great day.